Jordan Vance was 38 years old, a gifted architect whose work had shaped some of Washington, D.C.'s most celebrated federal buildings. Tonight, under the crystal chandeliers of the National Design Excellence Awards, he stood beside his wife, Ashley, watching her accept another trophy that should have been partly his. The applause was deafening, but Jordan felt nothing except the weight of years spent invisible. Ashley's speech sparkled with confidence. She thanked her team, her vision, her relentless drive. She praised Marcus Thorne, her new business partner, calling him her creative equal. Jordan's name never left her lips. He had heard this script before, polished and perfected over 5 years of award ceremonies. What had once felt like wedding-arrested joy now felt like a prison of his own making. Before we move on, tell me in the comments which state you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow's episode might be connected to your story. During the networking hour, Jordan approached Ashley near the champagne fountain. She was laughing with Marcus and several board members from major firms. Jordan waited for a pause, then spoke quietly. "Ashley, can we talk about the Jefferson Library bid? I noticed some irregularities in the proposal Marcus submitted." The applause stopped. Ashley's smile froze, then twisted into something sharp. "Irregularities?" Her voice cut through the nearby conversations. "Jordan, this is a professional event, not the place for your paranoid little concerns." "I'm just suggesting we review." "You're suggesting nothing." Ashley stepped closer, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. "You know what your problem is? You're a stubborn artist who never understood business. While I built an empire, you sat in your little studio sketching buildings that never got built." Marcus smirked behind her. The circle of executives grew wider, more attentive. Jordan felt the familiar tightening in his chest, the urge to retreat. But something in Ashley's eyes tonight was different, crueler, more public. "I carried us," Ashley continued, her voice rising. "Every contract, every award, every dollar we have came from my vision, my networking, my talent. You were always dead weight, Jordan, an anchor I dragged along out of pity." The ballroom had gone quiet. Hundreds of eyes watched. Jordan took a breath. "Ashley, let's discuss this at home." "No!" She moved fast, her palm connecting with his face in a crack that echoed off marble walls. The slap burned. Jordan stood perfectly still, his cheek reddening, his eyes fixed on the woman he had once loved. He could hear phones being raised, cameras clicking. Tomorrow, this moment would be everywhere. Ashley turned back to Marcus and the stunned board members, smoothing her dress. "Where were we?" Jordan touched his face once, then walked toward the exit. His footsteps were the only sound in the enormous hall. No one followed him. No one spoke. He pushed through the heavy doors into the cold night air, his wedding ring suddenly feeling too tight on his finger. Behind him, the party slowly resumed. Ahead of him, everything was about to change. Jordan sat alone in the penthouse he shared with Ashley, staring at the city lights through floor-to-ceiling windows. It was past midnight. She would be celebrating for hours yet, drunk on applause and champagne. He poured himself bourbon, the glass heavy in his hand. This penthouse, like everything else, existed because of work Ashley did not know was his. 5 years ago, Jordan had been an emerging architect with a radical vision for public spaces. He won a national competition to design the federal courthouse on Constitution Avenue. The design was revolutionary, anonymous, submitted under a firm he created called Monolith Designs. No face, no name, just pure architectural brilliance. The judges awarded it top honors. Ashley's interior design firm, AVD Interiors, won the contract to furnish the building's interior. That project launched her career into the stratosphere. What she never knew was that Jordan had structured the bid to favor her firm. He wanted to support her dreams while protecting his artistic independence from the political pressures of being a known black architect in a predominantly white industry. He created Monolith as a shield. Through it, he designed 6 more major government buildings over the years. Each time, he quietly ensured AVD won the interior contracts. Each time, Ashley accepted the credit as her due. She believed her talent alone had built her empire. Jordan walked to his private study and unlocked a cabinet. Inside were the original blueprints, competition entries, contracts, all signed by him, all executed through Monolith, all financing AVD's operations through carefully structured majority partnerships that Ashley's accountants had never questioned. He had loved her once, deeply, but love had rotted into something unrecognizable. Tonight's slap was not the first humiliation. It was simply the most public, the final one he would accept. Jordan pulled out his phone and dialed a number he had kept ready for months. Eleanor Shaw? Her voice was crisp, alert despite the hour. Eleanor had been his attorney since Monolith's creation, the only person who knew the full truth. "It's time," Jordan said quietly. "Are you certain?" "Yes." There was a pause, then the sound of papers rustling. "I'll have everything prepared for the emergency board meeting, 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll invoke Monolith's oversight clause." "Thank you, Eleanor." "Jordan, this will be nuclear." "I know." He looked at his reflection in the darkened window. "I'm ready." He ended the call and sat back down, finishing his bourbon in silence. Across town, Ashley was probably still laughing, still collecting congratulations, still believing she was untouchable. Tomorrow, she would learn the truth about foundations. The visible ones always rested on something deeper, something she had never bothered to see. Jordan finally allowed himself a small, grim smile. The blueprint for his reclamation was already drawn. Ashley stumbled into the penthouse at 3 a.m, her award clutched in one hand, heels in the other. Jordan was already awake, dressed in a charcoal suit she had never seen before. It was impeccably tailored, European cut, the kind of authority he had never claimed publicly. She blinked at him. "What are you wearing?" "I have a meeting." "At this hour?" She laughed, bitter and drunk. "Let me guess, another one of your pointless art gallery proposals?" Jordan said nothing. He adjusted his cufflinks and picked up a leather briefcase. Ashley's smile faded. Something in his stillness unnerved her. "Jordan, about last night, I was emotional, the pressure of the event." "I'll be at AVD's offices at 9, he said calmly. "You should be there too." He walked past her and out the door. Ashley stood frozen, her head pounding. What meeting? Jordan didn't have meetings at her firm. He barely had meetings anywhere. By 8:30, Ashley's phone was exploding. Her assistant, her CFO, 3 board members, all with the same panicked message. Monolith Designs had called an emergency board meeting, mandatory attendance, no explanation. Monolith. Ashley's stomach dropped. Monolith was AVD's ghost benefactor, the mysterious architectural firm that somehow always steered major federal contracts their way. She had never met anyone from Monolith. All communication came through lawyers. But Monolith's backing had been essential to AVD's credibility with government agencies. She called Marcus Thorne. "Do you know what this is about?" "No idea, but we should get there early. Charm offensive. We can't afford to lose Monolith's support." They arrived at AVD's glass and steel offices at 8:59. The boardroom was already full, directors whispering nervously. No one knew who from Monolith was coming. At exactly 9 a.m., the door opened. Jordan walked in, followed by a striking older woman in a tailored navy suit. Ashley stood up, furious. "Jordan, what the hell are you doing here? This is a private corporate meeting." The woman stepped forward, her voice cold and precise. "Mrs. Vance, I am Eleanor Shaw, lead counsel for Monolith Designs. Mr. Vance is here at Monolith's request." Ashley looked between them, confused. Marcus leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Did they hire you as a messenger, Jordan?" Eleanor placed a briefcase on the table and opened it. "Mr. Vance is not a messenger. He is the principal architect and majority owner of Monolith Designs."
The room went silent. Ashley laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "That's insane. Jordan doesn't own anything. He's a freelance artist who barely—" "Every major contract your firm has executed in the past 5 years originated with Monolith. Federal Courthouse, Jefferson Library, the National Museum Extension, all architected by Mr. Vance, all awarded to AVD Interiors through Monolith's structural and financial backing." She slid a folder across the table to the board's chairman. "Monolith holds majority financial stake in AVD Interiors. We are here to exercise oversight authority." Ashley stared at Jordan, her face draining of color. Jordan met her eyes and spoke for the first time. "It's time to talk about foundations, Ashley."
The chairman opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were contracts, financial documents, competition awards. Every page bore Monolith's seal and Jordan Vance's signature. Ashley grabbed the folder and scanned frantically. The Federal Courthouse Design Competition entry. Winner, Monolith Designs. Principal architect, J. Vance. The Jefferson Library Master Plan. The museum contract. All Jordan. "This is forged," Ashley said, her voice cracking. "This is some kind of sabotage." Eleanor remained calm. "Mrs. Vance, these documents have been notarized and filed with the appropriate federal agencies for 5 years. Monolith Designs is a legally registered firm. Mr. Vance's architectural license is on record. Your firm's accountants received quarterly reports showing Monolith's majority investment. You signed off on them." "I never—" She stopped. She had signed off on them. Dozens of financial reports she had never read closely, trusting her CFO to handle the boring details. Marcus leaned forward, his confidence finally shaken. "Even if this is true, AVD won those interior contracts on merit. Ashley's design work was made possible by architectural plans I provided. Plans you never questioned. Plans that guided every spatial layout, every material choice, every aesthetic decision your firm claimed as original." He gestured to Eleanor, who pulled out a second set of documents. Blueprints, sketches, design mock-ups, all in Jordan's distinctive drafting hand, all predating AVD's award-winning submissions. The board members passed the papers around, their faces grave. The CFO looked like he might be sick. "Why?" Ashley whispered. "Why would you hide this?" Jordan looked at her, and for the first time she saw something new in his eyes. Not anger, something colder. Finality. "Because I loved you. I wanted you to succeed. I thought we were partners building something together." He paused. "I was wrong." Marcus stood up abruptly. "This is a hostile takeover. We'll fight this in court." Eleanor smiled, a razor-thin expression. "Mr. Thorne, you are not an equity partner. You are a salaried consultant. You have no standing to fight anything. And if you examine your contract, you'll find a morality clause regarding ethical procurement practices. We have evidence of bid manipulation and kickback schemes you initiated on the Jefferson Library project." Marcus went pale. Jordan turned to the board. "I am assuming operational control of this company effective immediately. I will be restructuring leadership and refocusing our mission on integrity and authentic collaboration. Those who wish to remain under this new direction are welcome. Those who don't may tender their resignations." The chairman, a former federal judge, looked at Jordan with something like respect. "Mr. Vance, the board recognizes Monolith's majority position. We had no idea." "I know. That was intentional. It no longer serves any purpose." Ashley sank into her chair, staring at the table. Everything she had built, every award, every accolade was resting on Jordan's invisible foundation, and now he was taking it back. Jordan stood at the head of the table and laid out his plan with the same precision he used to draft buildings. His voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of 5 years of silence.
Marcus Thorne's employment is terminated effective immediately, with cause. Security will escort him out. His severance is voided due to ethics violations. Marcus shot to his feet. "You can't!" "I can," Jordan said simply. "And I am." Two security officers entered as if on cue. Marcus looked around the table for support, but found none. The board members avoided his eyes. He grabbed his phone and walked out, his face red with humiliation. Jordan continued, "Ashley will retain a position as lead interior designer, reporting to a new creative director I will appoint. Her salary will be adjusted to reflect actual scope of work." Ashley looked up, her eyes wet. "You're demoting me, in my own company." "It was never only yours, that's the point." He turned to the rest of the board. "I'll be bringing in an external audit team to review all contracts from the past 3 years. Any project secured through unethical means will be disclosed to clients with options for rebidding or renegotiation. This firm will operate with transparency going forward." The CFO raised a hand tentatively. "Mr. Vance, that level of disclosure could damage our reputation significantly." "Our reputation is already damaged. We've been operating on a foundation of deception. Rebuilding will be painful, but it's the only way forward. Those who helped cover up Marcus's schemes will be given one chance to cooperate fully. After that, termination." The CFO nodded, his jaw tight. Jordan softened slightly. For those who stayed honest, who did good work despite the dysfunction at the top, there will be opportunities for advancement. I've reviewed personnel files. There are talented people here who've been overlooked. He pulled out a list. Kendra Williams, the structural engineer who consulted on the museum project, will be offered a senior partnership. David Chen from junior design will be promoted to project lead. Maria Gonzalez in acquisitions will take over Marcus's former role, with oversight. Around the table, several board members sat up straighter. This was not just destruction, it was reconstruction. "What about the firm's name?" the chairman asked. Jordan paused. "AVD Interiors will be rebranded as Vance Design Collective, a partnership model, not a vanity project." Ashley stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. "I need air." No one stopped her as she left the boardroom. Jordan watched her go, feeling nothing but a distant, quiet relief. Eleanor leaned close and murmured, "Well executed." Jordan nodded. Now comes the hard part, actually building something worth keeping. The board meeting continued for another hour, laying out timelines, responsibilities, restructuring plans. By the end, every person in that room understood that the old AVD was gone. Something new, something built on truth, was taking its place. And Jordan Vance, after 5 years of invisibility, was finally standing in the light.
The office buzzed with tension as word spread. Marcus Thorne escorted out by security. Ashley Vance demoted. Jordan Vance, the quiet husband everyone had barely noticed, now running the entire company. Employees gathered in clusters, whispering, speculating, worrying about their jobs. Jordan called an all-staff meeting at 11. He stood in the main common area, surrounded by nervous faces, designers, assistants, project managers, interns, people who had worked hard under Ashley's often chaotic leadership. "I know today has been disorienting," Jordan began, his voice carrying across the room. "Many of you are wondering what happens next. Let me be clear. If you've done honest work, your job is safe. If you've collaborated ethically, you have a future here." He saw shoulders relax incrementally. "But things are changing. We will no longer chase contracts through backroom deals. We will not take credit for work that isn't ours. We will not tolerate a culture where some people are valued and others ignored based on favoritism." A young black woman in the back, a junior designer, met his eyes with something like hope. Jordan smiled slightly.
Talent will be recognized. Integrity will be rewarded. If you have ideas, I want to hear them. If you see problems, report them. This is a collective now, not a kingdom." He announced the promotions. When Kendra Williams's name was called for senior partnership, applause broke out. She had been respected and sidelined in equal measure under Ashley's regime. David Chen, a quiet Chinese-American architect who had been stuck doing grunt work for 2 years, looked stunned when Jordan named him project lead on the upcoming community center bid. After the meeting, employees approached Jordan one by one. Some thanked him, others asked careful questions about new reporting structures. He answered each person directly, making eye contact, learning names. Meanwhile, Ashley was in her corner office, packing. Her hands shook as she pulled awards off shelves, photographs off walls. She opened a drawer and found something that made her freeze. Blueprints. Original blueprints for the federal courthouse, the project that had made her famous. She unrolled them carefully on her desk. In the bottom right corner, in precise architectural drafting script, was a signature, J. Vance, Principal Architect, Monolith Designs. She pulled out more blueprints, the library, the museum, all signed the same way. How had she never looked? How had she never asked where these master plans came from, why they fit her interior design so perfectly? Because she had assumed her own brilliance was enough explanation. Ashley sank into her chair and stared at the blueprints. 5 years of awards, 5 years of acclaim, all built on Jordan's invisible work. She had called him dead weight. She had slapped him in front of their entire industry. And all along, he had been holding her up. Her phone buzzed, texts from colleagues, some sympathetic, most curious, a few reporters asking for comment on the leadership transition at AVD. The story was already leaking. Ashley turned off her phone and sat in silence, surrounded by achievements that were no longer entirely hers. Across the office, Jordan was sketching ideas for the community center with David, listening more than talking, building something new. Jordan moved out that weekend. He took only what was his: clothes, books, his drafting table, personal documents. Everything else, the furniture, the art, the gleaming kitchen they had never cooked in together, he left for Ashley. His new apartment was temporary, a modest place in a quiet neighborhood. Smaller, but his. He set up his drafting table by the window and felt something unclench in his chest. For the first time in years, he could breathe. Ashley stayed in the penthouse. It felt enormous now, hollow. Every surface held a trophy or award, physical proof of success that suddenly felt empty. She wandered from room to room, her phone in her hand, drafting and deleting text messages to Jordan. "I'm sorry." Delete. "Can we talk?" Delete. "You blindsided me. You owe me an explanation." She sent that one. Jordan didn't respond. She called. Voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. Over the next week, Ashley swung between pleading and fury. She left voicemails that started apologetic and ended accusatory. "You manipulated me for years. You let me think I was succeeding on my own. That's cruel, Jordan. You're cruel." Jordan listened to none of them. Eleanor's assistant screened everything. At the newly renamed Vance Design Collective, work continued. Jordan interviewed Kendra Williams in person, offering her a senior partnership with equity. She was a brilliant structural engineer, known for sustainable, community-focused projects. She had briefly consulted for AVD a year ago, but had been sidelined when Marcus deemed her too cautious about environmental impact. "Why me?" Kendra asked, sitting across from Jordan in his new, modest office. "Because you care about more than winning awards," Jordan said. "You care about building, serving people. That's the foundation I want for this company." Kendra smiled, warm and genuine. "Then I accept." They began collaborating on a proposal for a sustainable public housing project. Jordan found himself energized in a way he hadn't been in years. Kendra asked questions, challenged ideas, contributed her own innovations. It was partnership, real partnership. Ashley heard about Kendra through office gossip. A new senior partner, a woman, young, accomplished, beautiful. Ashley told herself she didn't care, but she started driving past Jordan's new apartment late at night, seeing his lights on, wondering if he was alone. He was, but he wasn't lonely. Jordan was drawing again, designing with purpose, sleeping soundly for the first time in months. The penthouse, the trophies, the false life he had been living, all of it was behind him now. He was building something new, something true, and he had no intention of looking back. 3 months passed. Vance Design Collective won a competitive bid for a sustainable, affordable housing development in Southeast D.C. The project was everything Jordan valued: community-focused, environmentally responsible, beautiful without being elitist. The win made headlines. The industry, still buzzing about the dramatic restructuring, watched closely. Skeptics had predicted the firm would collapse without Ashley's star power. Instead, it was thriving. Jordan and Kendra worked closely, their professional chemistry undeniable. Long meetings turned into longer dinners, discussing load-bearing structures and green roofs and the philosophy of public space. Kendra made him laugh, something he had not done genuinely in years. One evening, after finalizing the housing project's initial renderings, Kendra looked at him across the table. "Can I ask you something personal?" Jordan nodded. "Why did you stay quiet for so long? You're brilliant. You could have claimed credit years ago." Jordan considered the question. "I thought I was supporting her. I thought love meant making her shine, even if it meant I stayed in shadow. I was wrong." "You weren't wrong to support her," Kendra said gently. "You were wrong to erase yourself." Jordan met her eyes. "I'm not erasing myself anymore." "Good," Kendra said, smiling. "The world needs to see what you can do." Their relationship shifted, slowly, carefully. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became walks along the Potomac. Kendra never pushed, never demanded. She was patient, present, real. Jordan found himself wanting to be known, not hidden. Meanwhile, Ashley struggled. Her new role as lead designer meant answering to David Chen, a man she had once dismissed as too junior to have opinions. He was kind but firm, sending back her designs when they cut corners or ignored accessibility standards. For the first time in her career, Ashley had to justify her choices. It was humiliating and necessary. She attended firm meetings where Jordan presented strategies and employees contributed ideas freely without fear. She saw the culture he was building, collaborative and transparent, and realized it was everything she had claimed to value but never practiced. One afternoon, she approached David after a tense design review. "You were right about the library lighting. I'll revise." David blinked, surprised. "Thank you, Ashley." It was a small moment, but it was a beginning. Ashley still thought about Jordan constantly, but she was beginning to think about herself too, who she had been, who she might still become. At home in the empty penthouse, she started sketching again, not for clients, not for awards, just for herself. Small designs, honest attempts, no shortcuts. She had a long way to go, but for the first time, she was trying to build something real. 6 months after the reveal, Jordan and Kendra attended a charity gala for urban revitalization. It was smaller than the Design Excellence Awards, more intimate, focused on community impact rather than industry prestige. Jordan wore a simple black suit. Kendra wore deep green, elegant and understated. They arrived together, and heads turned, not with scandal, but with respect. People approached Jordan throughout the evening. A city council member congratulated him on the housing project. A former colleague asked his advice on sustainable materials. A young architecture student shyly requested his autograph on a copy of Architectural Digest featuring Monolith's courthouse design, now publicly credited to Jordan. He was visible now, not famous, but respected, seen. Kendra watched him navigate conversations with quiet confidence and felt a swell of pride. This was who he had always been, just hidden. Across the room, Ashley stood alone near the bar. She wore crimson, striking as always, but something in her posture was different. Less armor, more uncertainty. She had been invited because she was still, technically, employed at Advanced Design Collective. She attended alone. No Marcus, no entourage, just herself. She watched Jordan and Kendra, saw the ease between them, the genuine smiles. It hurt, but not in the sharp, indignant way she expected. It was a duller ache, the pain of recognizing what she had lost through her own actions. During a quiet moment, Ashley approached Jordan. Kendra tactfully stepped away to greet a colleague. "Jordan," Ashley said quietly. He turned, his expression neutral. "Ashley, I'm not here to beg or to make excuses. I just wanted to say you were right about everything. I was arrogant. I took credit that wasn't mine. I treated you terribly." Jordan said nothing, waiting. "I've been trying to do better. It's hard, humbling. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm trying." Jordan studied her. He saw fatigue in her face, a vulnerability that had never been there before. "I believe you," he said finally. "Keep trying." It wasn't forgiveness, not quite, but it was acknowledgement. A door not slammed shut, just closed gently. Ashley nodded, tears threatening. "Your housing project is beautiful. I read the proposal. It's the kind of work you always talked about doing." "Thank you." She started to say more, then stopped. There was nothing left to say that mattered. She nodded once and walked away. Kendra returned to Jordan's side. "You okay?" "Yeah," Jordan said, watching Ashley disappear into the crowd. "Yeah, I am." Later that night, standing on Kendra's apartment balcony overlooking the city, Jordan felt the last weight lift. The humiliation, the anger, the betrayal, all of it was fading into memory. What remained was possibility, and the woman standing beside him, pointing out the buildings he had helped create, asking him to tell her their stories. Jordan smiled and began to speak.
1 year after the emergency board meeting, Jordan stood at the podium of the National Design Excellence Awards, the same venue where Ashley had slapped him, the same industry elite now listening intently. He had been invited to give the keynote speech on ethical leadership and design. Jordan looked out at the audience. Kendra sat in the front row, her smile warm and encouraging. Several rows back, Ashley sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap. Jordan began to speak. "We often talk about foundations in architecture, the invisible structures that hold everything up. But we don't talk enough about foundations in our professional lives, in our relationships, in our integrity." His voice was calm, clear, carrying to every corner of the hall. "For years, I built invisibly. I told myself it was noble, that I was supporting someone I loved. But invisibility isn't the same as humility. It's erasure, and no one should have to erase themselves to make someone else shine." He paused, letting the words settle. True partnership means both people are visible, both people are valued, both people contribute, and both people receive credit. Anything else isn't partnership. It's exploitation, even if it's wrapped in love. In the audience, Ashley closed her eyes briefly. Jordan continued. "This past year, I've had the privilege of rebuilding a firm based on those principles: transparency, collaboration, mutual respect. It hasn't always been easy. Change never is. But the work we're doing now, the buildings we are designing, they have integrity, and that matters more than any award." He gestured to the trophy on the podium, the evening's highest honor, which would be awarded later. "These are beautiful, I won't pretend they don't matter. Recognition is meaningful. But if the work behind the recognition is hollow, if it's built on stolen credit or ethical shortcuts, the trophy is just metal and glass, empty. Applause began, tentative at first, then building. Jordan finished simply. Design a life you're proud of. Build on a foundation that's true. The rest will follow. He stepped back from the podium to standing ovation. Later, at the reception, Jordan stood with Kendra, accepting congratulations, discussing future projects, feeling at ease in his own skin. Ashley watched from a distance, not approaching, just observing. When their eyes met across the room, she raised her glass slightly, an acknowledgement, a silent thank you for the lesson she had needed but never wanted. Jordan nodded back. Then he turned to Kendra, who was laughing at something a colleague said, and he felt the future spread out before him like a blueprint, clear and full of possibility. Outside, the DC skyline glittered. Buildings Jordan had designed, buildings he would design, spaces that would serve people for generations. His legacy was no longer hidden. It was built to last. And that, Jordan thought, as Kendra took his hand, was the only foundation that mattered. If you enjoyed this story, like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching.